Action. Here, buddy. Head here to W4EMB. Sitting on this side of the table, I'm in the garage today. Today is June 1st, coronal mass ejection hit the Earth day. So I thought I would maybe address some questions that I had in some of my comments. Hear my phone go ding, and also show you what do I carry in my bag. So that's what I'm going to cover today. I'm going to go ahead and cover some of the stuff that's here that I carry with me in my bag. And my bag is just a simple, it's a range bag actually. I like a range bag because the side pockets on a range bag, when you unzip it and drop the side down, it has individual pockets that hold magazines for remote hole punching machines, if you know what I mean. But I like that because my individual cables and cords can fit in those magazine pouches that's built into that bag, and so I like that. And so here what we have is let's just go ahead and we'll start on this side of the table. All right, we have one of the radios I carry is my KX2 radio. I love the KX2 radio because it has a built-in tuner, and it is all band radio there. I have quite a few bands. I also have my 15 amp hour Bioenno battery. I also have a 12 amp hour battery and a 3 and a 50 with a solar panel. But just in a normal, what do you need? You need to have a battery, you need to have your radio. Okay, next thing, you have to have your key. Here's my Bamatech TP3 key along with my cable here so that I can plug in, use my key. And then I also have this key. Thank you, Zach. Zach Rosar was out there at Hamfest. He's like, Ed, I'm at Hamfest. Anything you need? And he was able to find and pick me up a Palm Radio single paddle Pico key. I love this key. Slide it right in there, take the cord out, and then pack that away. Has the big old magnets on there, so it can magnet to anything that's metal. But I really like this key. Plug it right in, out it comes. My single lever paddle. There we go. All right, so key, backup key. My other radio that I love using is my Pentec TR45L radio. This thing is awesome. There are no menus in this. None. Zero. If I want to go from wide to narrow, hit that button. If I want to go to super narrow, flip that switch. If I want to go back to wide, hit that button. If I want to increase my CW side tone, roll this towards me to make me louder. Make me quieter, I roll it away. Over here, this switch right next to this analog dial is great. If there's glare on there, my apologies. I can flip this switch to the forward, press my key while I'm in the key jack, and the needle will go up. When that needle goes up, I can take it all the way up to the number 5 by adjusting the key, the power, the transmit power, right? And then I can flip this back the other way, hit my key, see how much SWR that I have. So forward, I want the needle to go to 5. Reverse, I don't want the needle to rise at all. If this light comes on, I'm over 2:1 SWR. Also have your key or speed, my volume or RF gain, a notch filter right there, and then my overall volume is here. VFO knob, dial lock, battery check is here, and also a spot. So if you want to hear kind of like 0 beat, somebody, you can press that down and it will go doo. It will make a beep for me, right? You can press and hold this down to monitor sideband if you like. It also has a RIT or an RIT. You can flip that up and be slightly off frequency if you like. It has 2 VFOs and a power knob. Headphone jack here if you have a extra set of headphones you want to use. A jack for paddles, a jack for key. And then over here is another switch which makes this really bright or just dim. So love this thing. This radio sounds phenomenal, by the way. It absolutely, I know it looks huge, but it's as big as my hand, you know. The KX2 is just really tiny. So anyway, love this radio. Now somebody had asked a question, hopefully this answers it here. Ed, how do you tune that Pentec TR45 radio? Well, here's the answer in this box right here. In this box I carry with me a ZM2 auto ATU is what it's called, but it's a Z-match tuner. Okay, and what that Z-match tuner does, it means that I can flip to operate. So of course, this is my radio, right, and so forth, and then my antenna goes here. Or you can put an antenna here. Okay, so I use my coax to here. radio to there, go to operate, and I move these knobs until I hear the highest amount of noise. Okay? Hope you like my sound effects. They're free. I don't have a fancy sound effects program. So you move these knobs till you hear the loudest noise. Once you hear the loudest noise, flip to operate. Go to your key. Now when you're doing this, I like to be in the straight key hole, and then I can press and get a solid sound. Even though this is a paddle, it will act like a straight key when plugged in the straight key hole. So I can go boop, another free sound effect. And when I press this, this light may or may not come on. If it comes on, you adjust these dials until this light goes out. When that light goes out, flip to operate, and you are good to go. You can sit here and begin operating because you have tuned it until the light goes out, and that's how a Z-Match tuner works. And a very broad-banded tuner. If you need more capacitance, you could add 250 picofarad capacitance. If you still need more, you can add 500 picofarad more capacitance. So depending on what antenna you're using, lots of options here. So again, long wire, coax, tune operate. And when you do flip that to tune and you're keying around, your radio will never see a higher than a 2-to-1 SWR. This has some protections built into it so that it doesn't happen. Now this is for QRP use. And so, well, for me it is. I can't remember if this goes. Read the directions, I forget. Don't try to bust 100 watts through this for a long period. Read your directions, make sure this is for you. But when you key down, you don't want to key down for a long period of time. You want a short burst, check the light, adjust a little bit, come off of it, let it rest for a second, so you don't overheat the resistors that's inside, burn anything up, right? But it doesn't take long. After a little bit of practice, you can get down to tuning in under 20, 25 seconds, you're tuned and ready to go. So this is what I use for this radio. And the cool thing is, this radio and this thing are the same size. I thought about having a friend who's might be really good at 3D printing some sort of designy thing to design some sort of clip that I could slide that into that could hold that on the radio. I thought that'd be really cool. Of course, this would need a little bit of a redesign. It'd be nice if these things were on the side, but I thought that it's neat that that thing's the exact same size and kind of keeps the same retro look of the analog business. And then this fancy box, when I pack this in since it does have a lot of things sticking out of the front, how do you protect it? Well, you go to K8ARE.com. There is no K8ARE.com, but he's good on QRZ, and he sells these boxes. How cool is this box? Put that in there like this. 3D printed box that slides over there, and I just put that right in my bag, and it's nice and protected inside of there. So thank you, K8ARE Marcos, wonderful human being he is. So the ZM2 tuner for the Pentec TR45. Okay. All right. What else is in Ed's bag? Well, of course, you want to make sure that you have a pigtail or two. Remember, one is none, so always carry spare. So you have two pigtails. This goes from here to the tuner, obviously. Next thing you have a dummy load, VE6LK, our friend from the north. Thank you very much, Vince, for this mighty fine dummy load. And then also with your dummy load, you want to make sure that in your bag, you have the appropriate adapters, right? Make sure you have a couple of both kinds of adapters, a BNC to an SO239 male, or a BNC male to a SO239 female, so that you can accommodate whatever you need. So that if you have a dummy load like this, you can put it right on and then turn around and then stick it on the side of your radio if you need to do some testing, right? And I like the feature of this radio because I can obviously turn my RF power all the way to 0 and use a dummy load, and it's a 50 ohm dummy load just to make sure that I secure my radio. Here's the power jack here, and something I learned the hard way was always have a spare power cable, because that's the one thing that will end your day immediately, is if you don't have a spare power cable. So here's one power cable. Here's one that came with this radio, and John was kind enough to send me another because it broke on me. It actually broke twice, and I let him know, and he was immediately to respond to me. I put some hot glue on here. What was happening was the wire itself was inside when I crimped on and soldered my Anderson power pole things, the wire was doing this and then breaking at that point. So I put some hot glue in there just to try to stiffen that point, so maybe that won't bend around so much. But so there's the original, right? TR45 skinny, that's what that says. And then just on the back, make sure I knew what it was. This is for my skinny radio. So that was my spare power cord. And I think he also sent me this one, which was a silicone-y one. So it's kind of floppy wire, right? So he told me, hey, try each of those and see what you think. So I carry all those with me just in case. And then there's something else that I found. These things right here, these are awesome. This is a male barrel connector, and right here it says plus and minus, and you can actually use a small screwdriver and unscrew those and put your black and red wire in there and then tighten those down, and then that way you have an emergency, like a field repair if you break one in the field. So these things are pretty amazing, and you can find these on Amazon. I bought a package of 10 of those just to put in different, now they do have different sizes, remember that. So extra power cords, make sure you have extra power cords in your bag. That's the showstopper. You don't have power, you can't play radio. All right, so we covered that. All right, ham gadgets. This thing is awesome. Don't know if you'll be able to hear this. I'm going to move it towards my mic when I hit play. It has 4 memories, and then you can press a couple buttons and access 4 more memories. So this thing actually has 8 memories. It has a speed knob. Even though you set the speed in programming, even if you set it, you can still adjust the speed of what it plays. So let's move this toward the mic, see if you can hear it. Okay, I moved that towards the mic. So, you know, CQ, bye-bye, maybe an RST, maybe my call sign, all programmed here. And then on the back, you can plug it to a speaker, plug your key in, and plug it to the radio. So when you use a device like this, and I'm using it with this radio, I want to make sure I go from there to the straight key button, because this is acting like a key itself, right? It's not doing a dit and a da the same way that a paddle does. So you would go into the straight key hole on here, or if you're using a different radio, make sure you're in straight key mode when hooking this to your radio, okay? And then, even though I'm in straight key mode on my radio, I can actually plug my paddle, because I told this via programming, hey, I'm using a paddle. So I set it up for paddle. Let me see if you can hear this. Right, so there you go. So I set that up for paddle, and it's in the programming, very simple programming. You just hit some buttons and do some sending to it, and it programs it. These things are about $65. They have different colors of the fronts, but and they say the batteries virtually will last forever, but you could replace it if after, I don't know, 100 years, yours goes dead. But very well built. If anything, I would like maybe a bit of a case for it, maybe to cover the front so I don't bump it too much or sit on a button. So the way I have it in my bag, I just have it sitting on top of my tuner actually, and then I put my folded up towel on top of that when it's in my bag. And then some other things that I have my gas station find. This comes from my Sotabeams KM6N John Skaggs. He found that at a roadside rest stop in Texas, and he brought it to me. But it works great for setting my phone on it. And then with my phone, I can open up my Bluetooth keyboard and sit here with my Polo app and do my logging, okay? And this will be our final thing that we talk about, maybe. I get long-winded, you know, Ed is. Speaking of logging, I also have my logging sheet that just in case something happens on my Polo app, I always carry this inside of this Right in the Rain waterproof bag, and of course with an extra pencil in here. This is, you know, pretty thick. As a zipper goes all the way around, it's waterproof, and I carry this like, you know, 30 copies of this POTA sheet. Basically, the number of the QSO that is, their call sign, RST, sent and received, what state are they in, what time, any notes or scribbling that I have to do in case I miss their call. I can come over to notes and redo that. And then what frequency did I get them on. And sometimes I'll write my frequencies up here that I start on, and I'll just leave frequency blank, but it's a good one for if I change frequencies to put a mark over there. That way, when I do have to convert this to a digital log to turn it in, I know where I changed frequencies at, okay? Up here, I have start time, and it's above my time. I have that there because if I start calling CQ, especially on a day like today with the coronal mass ejection, you might call CQ for 30 minutes. And your duty cycle changes, doesn't it, when you're calling CQ compared to when you call CQ and you're answering somebody. But anyway, I'll put my start time of CQ up here, the last time of my last QSO, figure out how long was my activation, write that on the bottom, and I know that on my 12 amp hour battery, I've timed it, I can get like 14 plus hours out of my 12 amp hour battery. And then what I can do is go to my POTA sheets, add up all the times, and go, oh, it's about time to charge my battery. All right, so there you go. I guess that wasn't the last thing. A spare piece of just small coax. I know this RG174 is not the best. However, I keep it in the same bucket that I keep my analyzer. I didn't talk about analyzer, did I? These analyzers are amazing. I always use just the SWR meter, and I'll hit SWR meter, and I'll hit the check mark. It gives me the whole band. It will draw a V, and I try to make it to where the notch of my V is where I want to talk. But I love this thing, and I love it because it's very lightweight, and it uses 2 AA batteries as opposed to the MFJ analyzers. So I love this thing. Yep, I love this. This one in, I have a 30 as well, the AA30. So this, actually, I have inside of a container that I got at your big box hardware store, whether it be Lowe's or Home Depot. So my spare coax, and I call it my emergency coax, just in case you have a coax failure, I keep this piece of coax along with my analyzer in here. And then I have a spare adapter that I keep in here with it, and then a piece of foam on top of my screen, and this is a Klein Tools case, and it's a rigid soft case, if that makes sense. Rigid soft. It's one of those oxymorons, but it's Klein, K-L-E-I-N, Klein Tools, and you'll find these around your electrical tools and pliers and things when you're in Lowe's or Home Depot. There we go. So I hope that answers some of the questions that I've received on my comment sections. If any of this has caused any more questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments. One last thing I would like to add, thank you to my coffee crew and my supporters of my channel. Without you, my fancy microphones wouldn't be possible. So thank you for that, which I'm wearing it on me, and I'll tap it, bing, bing, bing. And so I have my fancy wireless mics on, and then of course this DJI camera. This is a phenomenal camera, so a great improvement to my channel because of my supporters. Wouldn't have been able to do that without you guys, and I sure appreciate it. Well, folks, this is a POTA mess now that it's on my desk. And oh, POTA, sorry, yoga mat. This is a piece of a yoga mat, because you know concrete picnic tables at parks are horrible on your equipment. So a piece of yoga mat, and then in the summertime it gets pretty humid, and so your arms will stick to it. So having your fancy schmuck in your bag is nice too. All right, I won't keep you. Thanks for watching. Comment below. Let me know what you think about this kind of video. Is it a good change from just the standard POTA activations? Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time. I'm Ed, W4EMB.